Just when I was getting ready to compliment the dump, just when I was getting ready to actually say something positive about the WNBA, this rancid league, this polished turd, these unlikable pretend basketball players, with the eyes of the entire country upon them, they come out and prove why this league continues to be a huge embarrassing failure. They come out and prove why the only role they want to play is the role of the ultimate victim. There are no role players in the WNBA, there's just victims. Over the past few months, how many times have I said that the WNBA is not ready for prime time? How many times have I told you guys that this league is not ready for the spotlight? What happened last night after Caitlin Clark was eliminated from the chase for the golden toilet? What happened last night is a prime example of exactly what I'm talking about. Let me ask you something. If there's one thing I feel like I'm an expert on, it's knowing my own audience. Although this audience is diverse in terms of age and race, things like that, it is not diverse in terms of ideology. The overwhelming majority of my audience, I'd say over 95%, are normal people. The other 5% are bitter deacons at Woke United Methodist who just hate watch my channel. Now, what would happen to this channel if I came on here and said that I spanked the wanker looking at explicit photos of bearded Beulah? What would happen to this channel if I bit into the forbidden woke fruit, Donnie's Lemons, and I was hypnotized by the myth of mythical racism and I started accusing you guys of being racist? By tomorrow, this channel, this audience would cease to exist. Now, obviously, I would never do that because I'm not a shit fuck and I don't believe those things to be true. But another reason that I wouldn't be dumb enough to do that is because I'm not willing to go to war with my own fan base. Business 101. You don't go to war with your own audience. If you want to know how that story ends, just go ask Adam Silver and LeBron James in the NBA. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If my voice is off or it seems like I'm dragging a little bit today, I promise you it's not a hangover. Had to take my wife to the ER late last night where they kept us there overnight in a bed made for one and a chair made of rocks. So I spent the entire night and the entire morning standing on my feet and I'm running on zero sleep. Been up for about 36 hours now, so there's no need to be concerned about anything. Everything's all good with the wife. But if I appear off today, that is the reason why. Throughout the season, dump divers in the WNBA, they have consistently proven that they are not ready for prime time. They have engaged in this months-long war with their own fan base, which in the WNBA, there is only one fan base, fans of Caitlin Clark. Like I told you before, fans of the WNBA, they don't exist. Believe it or not, I was actually going to come on here today and compliment the WNBA. Yesterday morning, we discussed the impending embarrassment and humiliation in the dump because ratings and attendance for playoff games not involving Caitlin Clark were in the pooper. But last night, the ratings were released for the set of Game 2s, and I'm not going to lie to you, they were kind of impressive. Obviously, they were not on Caitlin Clark's level or even close, but for the average matchup in the WNBA dump, the ratings were a glimmer of hope. They went from nothing to almost nothing. In all fairness, they were a hell of a lot better than almost nothing. But I am not going to sit here and highlight the lone positive in the WNBA because once again, players are playing the role of the ultimate victim and accusing you of mythical racism. As expected, Caitlin Clark was eliminated from the chase for the golden toilet last night. Seconds after she was eliminated, the mask officially came off. The allegations were prevalent. The accusations were rampant. And of course, the proof was non-existent. How many of you guys have ever heard of Alyssa Thomas? Well, Casey, I love Alyssa. She is the best barista at Brian Stelter's Donut from Divas. Understandable. Understandable. But that's her side job. As you guys know, due to the minimum wage they're paid in the WNBA, all players, they are required to have multiple jobs. Alyssa Thomas, she is also one of the female sons from Connecticut who has been playing pretend basketball for the past 11 years. 11 years in the dump. And Alyssa Thomas was virtually unknown until last night. All of a sudden, Al Thomas, she's a household name. I wonder why. After the female Suns eliminated Caitlin Clark, the unknown players, they met with members of the media who were interested in covering them. My inside sources are telling me only one reporter showed up. I think he works the sports section at the Connecticut Cucumber, where the cucumbers are supersized and the ladies want to be guys. Now, to his credit, this reporter asked Alyssa Thomas a question related to pretend basketball. He complimented their professionalism and their ability to shut out the noise while being one of the best teams in the dump. Now, instead of responding with a basketball-related answer at a press conference focused on pretend basketball, Alyssa Thomas, she decided to thump her woke Bible, and she delivered a passionate sermon on the plague of mythical racism. Watch it for yourself.
I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it. I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it. And basketball is headed in a great direction, but we don't want fans that are going to degrade us and call us racial names.
One of two things are true here. Number one, this collection of WNBA players, which at this point consists of damn near every player in the league not named Caitlin Clark, and to her credit, I have not seen Bob Griner complain about this either. Either WNBA players are telling the truth, or they are acting in collusion to make Caitlin Clark feel excluded. Me personally, I believe it's the latter, and I'll tell you why. For starters, I thought the WNBA was dedicated to inclusion. How come the league dedicated to diversity and inclusion is actively trying to exclude the only recognizable white player in the league? Hell, Caitlin Clark is the only recognizable player in the league. We have covered these allegations of mythical racism from Caitlin Clark fans throughout the season. We have seen these accusations coming from Angel Reese, DJ Carrington. We have seen it coming from Monica McDougal and Andrea Carter at ESPN. We've seen all these accusations from multiple people, allegations claiming that Caitlin Clark fans are using racial terms against them on social media. And I have yet to see a single shred of evidence provided. I have yet to see one piece of proof. Last I checked, social media, it was available to the masses. You mean to tell me, through all of these accusations of mythical racism the past few months, the mainstream media hasn't been able to find one piece of evidence? Well, Casey, maybe they're not revealing the evidence because it's too painful. You mean to tell me the WNBA and the media, they are hiding proof of racism? The same media who just make shit up when they can't find actual proof? We have WNBA players claiming that people are following them around and threatening them. No proof provided. Yet we are expected to believe it's true because ESPN supposedly confirmed its accuracy. I looked down the list of people that I trust. ESPN did not make the list. Kat Engelbert and the WNBA, they damn sure didn't make the list. And speaking of Kat Engelbert, The diva of dump divas, instead of waiting for actual evidence before she issued a statement, Kat Engelbert decided to pour fuel on this flaming ass fire. The WNBA front office, they released a statement minutes after Caitlin Clark was eliminated from the playoffs last night. The statement started off with a blatant lie. The WNBA is a competitive league with some of the most elite athletes in the world. What? Excuse me? Come again? Elite athletes? Best athletes in the world? Are we talking about the same dump divers? The same players who consistently miss wide open layups? The same players who lack the ability to catch wide open passes? The same players who, in the rare event they actually make a layup, they claim they made a dunk? Are we talking about those elite athletes? While we welcome a growing fan base, no you don't. You have made it abundantly clear this season that you do not want fans of Caitlin Clark watching your league. We are monitoring active threats and will possibly be involving law enforcement. Law enforcement? Law enforcement. You mean the cops? The same police that you were pushing to defund just 3 or 4 years ago? All of a sudden, when WNBA players claim to be receiving threats, their first line of defense is calling the police. What the hell happened to social worker Shanice? You know, the WNBA better be very, very careful. I hope Caitlin Clark is not naive enough to believe that these attacks and allegations are only targeted at her fan base. WNBA players, in my opinion, they are sending a clear message to Caitlin Clark. We do not want you in our league. Now, do I think that WNBA players deal with racially charged or racially insensitive criticism on social media? Sure. Do I think Caitlin Clark deals with the exact same thing? Yep. Do I think NFL players, NBA players, NHL players, Major League Baseball players, cable news hosts, politicians, any and all public figures deal with the same thing? Absolutely. Do I think WNBA players are exaggerating this problem in an attempt to be perceived as the ultimate victim and a desperate attempt to garner sympathy? Absolutely. Again, if this was really a problem, if this was as rampant as WNBA players are claiming, how come you are refusing to provide a single example of proof? One example. What you are going to end up doing, you are going to push Caitlin Clark out of the WNBA. And look, maybe that is their ultimate goal. We have seen this happen before in sports. Back in the mid-90s, the mainstream media, they were so relentless with Michael Jordan after the death of his father, they essentially pushed him out of the NBA in his prime. Now, this was decades before social media. Michael Jordan, he wasn't dealing with anywhere near the bullshit that Caitlin Clark is having to deal with. Eventually, she is going to reach her breaking point. And what happens to the WNBA then? You tell me, could these constant allegations without proof, could this constant negativity and exclusion push Caitlin Clark eventually out of the WNBA? Also, do you believe the players in the WNBA? Do you believe Alyssa Smith? Or without any evidence provided, is this another case of WNBA players trying to get sympathy and playing the role of the ultimate victim? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com. I don't know if I'll see you guys later today. I will definitely see you tomorrow.